last year, almost 50 million people switched jobs, which means that if the trends stay the same, then millions of people might be making a horrible decision that can end up hurting their retirement. Now, I recently read a study that revealed a shocking number of Americans withdraw money from their 401ks when they change their jobs. This study, conducted by the UBC Sauder School of Business, found that 41.4% of US workers do this, and 85% of those people cash out the entire account. Hey everybody, I'm Johnathan Rankin, the founder of Theorem Wealth Management. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our retirement planning videos. And if you've been following us for a while, welcome back. Today we are talking about the impact of cashing out your retirement account and what your options are when you change jobs. When I first saw the results of this study, I have to be honest, I wasn't that shocked. I've been working with retirement-focused investors for going on 2 decades now, and I've seen this happen more often than not. Now, typically, it happens when someone doesn't think that a certain amount of money is going to make a significant impact in their long-term retirement. Now, it's easy to ignore the future when you're just changing a new job. I mean, think about it. You're just starting a new job, so the last thing that you're probably thinking about is when are you going to be quitting that job and retiring? Now, that makes sense. And it also makes sense that when you just get this standard form letter in the mail and it lists out all your different options and you see that you can put this lump sum right into your bank account, that could be hard to pass up. I mean, you're focused on the now and what that money can do for you now, not thinking about the future. But as an advisor who has seen the damaging effects of cashing out a 401k, I could tell you that it's very important to focus on the long-term future. Let's look at an example of the impact cashing out a 401k can have. Now, in this example, we've got John, who's 30 years old, who just started a new job where he's going to be earning $80,000 a year. John had accumulated $30,000 in his previous employer's 401k, and he does plan to contribute in the new 401k, plans to contribute 10% of his salary, and his employer's actually going to match half of that. Now, assuming John retires at age 65, John's assets are going to last him until he's 87 years old. But what happens if John were to cash out that $30,000? Think about it from John's perspective. He knows that retirement's decades away, and in his mind, $30,000 isn't even enough to cover 1 year's worth of expenses. By cashing out, John's assets now only last until age 78, resulting in John losing 9 years. People look at things in a dollars and cents perspective, but when you think about it in terms of time, that's what really matters here. John lost 9 years of retirement funding. Now let's fast forward 10 years. Assume John's now 40 years old and he would still like to retire at 65. In this scenario, John's 401k has continued to grow and now it's at $100,000. Now, if John would have just stayed consistent, he would eventually have over $1.1 million when he retires, and his assets would have lasted until he's 82 years old. Now, if John were to cash out that $100,000 and retire at 65, his assets would only support him for 4 years, meaning that retiring at 65, that's no longer an option. He's going to have to delay that if he has any chance of retirement success. Now, this is just a very high-level overview showing you the impact cashing out a 401k could have. There are many other factors that go into projections like this, and we're just scratching the surface here. Now, even in that second example, where John is 40 years old, it's easy to see how the thought of retirement being 25 years away can seem like it's just a lifetime away, especially when the primary focus when changing jobs is the now. But cashing out your retirement, no matter what the balance is or what your age is, will have an impact on your retirement one way or another. So instead of thinking about the dollar value of what you're cashing out, think about it in terms of how many years you're taking away from your retirement. When you change jobs, you have 4 main options when it comes to your 401k. You can leave it with your own employer, you can roll it into your new employer, you can roll it over into an IRA, or as we mentioned, you can cash it out. So let's dive into each one of those options, as well as some of the pros and cons so that you can make the best decision for your financial future. Option number 1, leave it with your old employer. If your account balance is over $5,000, you can choose to keep your 401k where it is. You don't have to do anything. Leave it with your previous employer, and it's the easiest decision you have because you don't have to do anything. This is a really good option if you're satisfied with the investment choices and the fees associated with the plan. However, there are a few potential downsides. Most 401ks have limited investment options, and you can now face potentially higher fees because you're no longer with the company. And for many people, it can be really difficult trying to manage multiple 401ks. I mean, think about it. You're trying to remember different logins, trying to align your asset allocation across different accounts, and just remembering in general, just to even track those accounts can be difficult. That's why every single year, the number of 401ks that are forgotten is staggering. It's millions of 401k accounts that are just forgotten and left where they are. Now let's look at the second option, rolling your 401k into your new employer's plan. This would be a really good option, assuming that your new job has a 401k. But with this option, you get to manage all of your investments and all of your retirement savings in one account. Everything's consolidated, it makes it a lot easier, and you do continue that tax-deferred growth. And because you have an established balance, it gives you that potential for loan provision. Now, hopefully you don't need those loans because, as we always talk about, 401k loan should really be the loan of last resort. However, you do want to consider all the investment options that are associated with the plan, as well as the fees associated with the new plan before you decide on whether or not you should roll your 401k into that new employer plan. On to the third option. You can roll your 401k over into an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. Now, rolling your money from your 401k into an IRA is a really popular option because an IRA offers more investment options than a traditional 401k does. And it also allows you to work with a professional advisor to help you manage not just your retirement savings, but your overall retirement plan if it's something that you're looking for help. Now, before rolling your money from your 401k into an IRA, you want to make sure that you understand the fees and the services associated with the IRA. Finally, let's discuss the fourth option, which we've been talking about from the very beginning, cashing out your 401k. As we mentioned, you can cash out your 401k when you leave your employer. However, this really should be considered a last resort. Not only will that have a negative impact on your retirement like we showed with John, but cashing out your 401k early can also result in significant taxes and penalties, which could cost you a sizable portion of that account balance. So just because you see a lump sum on your statement, that doesn't mean that's the amount that it's actually going to go into your bank account. All right, so now that we've gone through the four main options for your 401k when you leave your job, let's talk about a few key factors to keep in mind when you're deciding what's best for your financial picture. The first thing you want to consider are the investment options and fees. You're going to want to understand what fees are tied to each option. You want to make sure that you have a solid mix of investments and competitive fees to make the most out of your retirement savings. You also want to think about your financial goals, your short-term goals and your long-term financial goals, and how each option can best help you achieve those goals. You also want to factor in any tax implications. Make sure you understand any potential tax consequences for each option. This is really just a factor if you're even considering cashing out your account, because rolling funds into a new employer plan or into an IRA, or just keeping your account where it is in your 401k, there are no taxes associated with those options. You'll also want to consider the access to funds. If you think that you're ever going to need to tap into your retirement savings before you retire, then you want to consider options that allow for loans or penalty-free withdrawals. And the last thing you'll want to think about when considering the different options is the ease of management. You want to think of how simple it'll be to manage your retirement savings with each different option. Streamlining your accounts or working with a financial advisor can make investing a lot easier. So there you go, a complete guide to help you navigate your 401k options when you leave your employer. My hope is that you think about the long-term impact your decisions can have on your retirement. If you need help and don't know which option is best for you, please use the link in the description below and a member of our firm will be happy to help. As always, thanks for watching. If this video is helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more ways that you can maximize your retirement. And if you're thinking about retiring soon, make sure you check out the video coming up next where I share why you shouldn't retire even if you can afford to do so. I'll see you there.